Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, I'm from Group 1, so I'm going to present to you about Microeconomics. But before that, let me introduce myself and my group members. My name is Muhammad Haikal Hakimi bin Muhammad Jamil as the team leaders, and the rest is my group members. So, without any further delay, let us start with our first presenter. Please welcome.
Alright, so here I am as a presenter 1. I will present for question 1. So, A. Calculate the price elasticity of demand for hotel accommodation. Is the demand elastic or inelastic? So, let me explain first what is elastic and what is inelastic. Elastic, a product or service whose demand or supply change rapidly in response to price or supply changes. For example, luxury goods and non-necessary items are elastic. On the other hand, for inelastic, a product or service whose demand or supply remain relatively unchanged in response to price or supply changes. For example, food and gas are elastic. Alright, so how to calculate price elasticity of demand? So we need to get the percentage change in quantity demand divided by percentage change of price. So in this question, we got negative 4% for the change in quantity demand and 12% for the change in price. So we need to divide negative 4% divided by 12%, so we got negative 0.33. So, since we focus on absolute value of price elasticity of demand, so we will ignore the negative, so we will get 0.33. Since the calculation of the price elasticity 0.33. Since the calculation of the price elasticity of demand for hotel accommodation is less than 1, the demand for hotel accommodation is inelastic. This means that changes in price have a relatively small effect on the quantity demanded. Alright, so for B, explain how changes in household income might influence the price elasticity of demand for tourism service. So I've got 3 points here. So for the first point, I got higher household income. Higher income increase the consumer purchasing power, which make them less responsive to change in price. This reduces the price elasticity of demand and demand becomes inelastic. The consumer may focus on quality and luxury, thus being less responsive to increases the price of tourism services. So for the second point, lower household income. Lower income increase responsiveness by consumer to price, hence increasing the price elasticity of demand and making demand more elastic. Household might switch to budget option or even tourism expenditure altogether due to increased prices. So lastly, government policies. For the government policies, income subsidies, tax cuts or tourism voucher increase disposable income. This can make people less responsive to higher prices and increase demand. Higher income also opens mid-range or luxury tourism services, further lowering overall elasticity. That's all from me, so I will pass for the next presenter.
So here comes the question 2. But before that, let me read for you the statement. Suppose an 8% increase in household incomes results in a 12% increase in demand for luxury goods, such as imported cars. So here comes the question A. Calculate the income elasticity of demand for imported cars. Are imported cars a necessity or a luxury good? So how can we calculate this question? How can we solve this question? As you can see at the right side, it already stated that the formula for you to solve this question all the time. So the formula is stated about the percentage change in quantity demanded A divided by percentage change of consumer income. So how can you calculate this? So you need to remember, you need to put 12% divided by 8%. Why? Because 12% is increase in demand, meanwhile the 8% is increase in household income. So once you put inside the calculator, inside the calculations, so it will be 12% divided by 8%. So the answer will be 1.5. But that's not the end of the question yet. Are imported cars a necessity or a luxury good? So how can we answer this? So you need to know, since the calculations of the income elasticity of demand for imported cars is greater than 1. Why greater than 1? Since you already calculate, the answer is 1.5. So it is greater than 1. So the imported cars are luxury good. A luxury good is a good whose demand increases more than proportionally with an increase in income. So now we are going to question B. In what manners might the alternation in income levels addressed in the articles influence the demand for these goods? So how can we answer this question? So the answer is, if income increases, the demand for luxury goods like imported cars tends to rise disproportionately, since higher income households have more disposable income to devote to non-essential high value items. On the other hand, when incomes falls, the demand for luxury goods may drastically fall as households cut their spending on them and instead prioritize their essential items. So the conclusion for this question is, changes in the level of incomes directly affect the demand for imported cars, since they are considered luxury goods with high income elasticity. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to present about question 3. So, to address this question, we need to break it up into two parts. A. Calculating the cross price elasticity of demand, and B. Determining whether steel and aluminium are substitutes or complements. So first, the cross price elasticity of demand measures the responsiveness of demand for one good when the price of another good changes. So the formula of cross price elasticity is the change in quantity demand of good X divided by change in the price of good Y. So in this case, good X is aluminium and good Y is steel. So by substituting into the formula, aluminium demand increased by 10% while the steel price increased by 15%. So 10% divided by 15% equals to 0.67. So next, we have to determine whether the aluminium or steel is substitutes or complement. The size of the cross price elasticity helps determine whether the two goods are substitutes or complements. So if cross price elasticity more than 0, the goods are substitutes, but the cross price elasticity below than 0, the goods are complement. So in this case, the cross price elasticity is positive, which is 0.67. 0.67 is more than 0, which is indicate that steel and aluminium are substitutes. So the article mentions that increased demand for raw materials like steel and aluminium is a key driver of economic growth. The fact that a price increase in steel leads to an increase in the demand for aluminium suggests that the two materials can be used in place of one another in some applications. So when the price of steel rises, industries might switch to using more aluminium as an alternative, driving up its demand. Therefore, steel and aluminium are substitutes, as businesses may option for one over the other based on price changes, which aligns with the positive cross price elasticity result. With the positive cross price elasticity result. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So now going to the last questions. Before that, let me read for you the statement. The article attributes part of Malaysia's economic growth to the manufacturing sector, which includes electronic goods. However, the article also mentions challenges such as global uncertainties and supply constraints. Suppose the price of electronic goods increased by 12%, but the quantity supply increased by only 5%. So, how can we solve these questions? First, we need to remember the formula, which is percentage change in quantity supply A divided by percentage change in price A. Then, how can we calculate this? As I said earlier, the quantity supply increased by only 5%. So, we can put 5% at above. Meanwhile, the price of electronic goods increased by 12%. We can put this at below. So, it will be 5% divided by 12%. Then, we already can calculate and get the answer is 0.42. But, that's not the final answer. Is the supply elastic or inelastic? How we want to know the supply elastic or inelastic? Which is based on the answer we get. If elastic, more than 1. Inelastic, less than 1. Based on our calculations, the supply of electronic goods is inelastic. This means that the quantity supply does not respond proportionally to changes in price. Here we come to the questions B. Discuss two factors based on the article that might contribute to the observed elasticity in the manufacturing sector. So, how can we solve this problem? The first is supply constraints. These constraints will make it difficult for a producer to supply more as the prices increase. Thus, the supply will be inelastic. Second, global uncertainties. Uncertainties in the economy, geopolitical perspective, or disruptions to supply chains can make efficient supply adjustment option for producers a factor. This factor make it difficult for manufacturers to increase their supply in the short run, adding to the inelasticity of supply. As a conclusion, to put it all in a nutshell, determinants such as domestic demand, income level change, price change, and the interconnectedness between industries substantially support the economic growth of Malaysia. For this reason, elasticity both for demand and supply has a prime significance in studying consumer behavior and market response. Price and income elasticity, including cross price elasticity, do underpin the interrelatedness of industries such as tourist, luxury goods, and manufacturing. These insights highlight a mix of policies initiative and how to adapt quickly to the continuous changing global and national challenges for continued economic growth. So, that's all from me. Thank you.